you made me think of when the gas station clerk, when he's listening to his Walkman, and the sheriff comes up to him. He's like, what are you listening to? What is that? He's like, oh, it's a Walkman. You know, you can listen to your music. You put a cassette in here. And then he's like, kids walking around with their own stereos. He's like, what did he say? Damn, I had it written down. I can't remember what he said. He said, that's a slippery slope, son. And then, I mean, you think about it now, everyone everywhere. I mean, you can go to a mall and there's, a park or whatever, anywhere, and everyone has headphones in, walking around. It's less, people are less personal. And it's just crazy how when you hear about how things were, and like you said, we weren't there to experience those types of things, and it's just like, wow, man, that sounds cool. Like I want to go back then. But then you think like, I don't know, what would I do? You know, I don't have a phone or anything. I can't, how did people survive? Yeah. But it's crazy. But people did it.
They did.
Yeah. Is that my question? Or your question now?
I think your question.
Yours your question now.
Yeah.
Mine was the.
Oh, you just jumped off of what I said, right? Or did I?
The time I asked about the time, like what movies
you
prefer.
Yeah. Okay. So my final question for you is: would you consider this an iconic film for our generation?
That's a good question. I think so. I mean, not to like. I mean, iconic. Describe how you would describe an iconic movie.
Okay. Well, when I wrote down this question, because when I've seen this movie now twice,
okay.
Counting the screening that we just did right now, I've seen it when it came out in theaters. Mm-hmm. I think it might have been the first day or the second day, and it blew me away watching it on the big screen because of the JJ aesthetic. He's very big and flashy and awesome, and it was fun because I feel like they made this because it's Spielberg produced it. Mm-hmm. I feel like they kind of took it back and made what is now kind of like a contemporary film that would be to me, it's like on a par with E.T.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up.
It's like our generation's E.T., you know what I mean? Yeah, of course, it's a little bit more edgier, but we live in edgier times. Mm-hmm. And I think that was always really cool to me because I was like, wow, they've actually made something, where the kids ride around on their bikes and stuff.
Yeah. And
that's why I was telling you when you said you wanted to do this film, I strongly think that this was like a prelude to what led up to Stranger Things.
Okay.
And it's interesting that this is set in 79.
Yeah.
And then Stranger Things goes into the 80s.
Yeah.
So it's almost fitting.
Yeah, it is.
In that way.
Yeah. But yeah, now that I understand the question a little bit more, I would definitely say this is probably an iconic movie for our generation.
Because it feels like E.T., it feels like Goonies.
Yeah, exactly. It's that group of kids that band together and they
get into these wild escapades.
Yeah, and they save the town or whatever. And I think, this is an awesome movie, and I think it should be shared with everybody.
Yeah. I know it got pretty good reviews and it got some recognition, but I still think it was pretty underrated.
Yeah, I don't think I know a lot of people in my circle that I hang around with. I don't think any of them have probably even seen this movie, besides maybe one or two of them. But you brought up kind of how this movie's a slow burner, if you would, and say that. And a lot of my friends are more they want like face value stuff. They want something that's they want 110% from the beginning.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this like 100 times probably. And I think that's a huge problem with a lot of moviegoers or just our society in general. With people just want everything now, or they want it to they just want to see what's behind the curtain. They don't want a little peek or whatever, and then slowly show you. They want to see the unveiling right away, and I think that's probably why a lot of my friends haven't seen this movie.
Yeah, that brings me back to when this movie came out. I remember being on the trolley maybe a few weeks after I had seen it, and I overheard a stranger and his buddy's conversation, and they brought up Super 8.
Okay.
They were like, "Oh yeah, I went to see it," and they were like, "How was it, fool?" or whatever, and he is like, "Oh, it was stupid. It wasn't good at all, man.
Yeah,
like it was so bad and boring." And that always kind of stuck with me because I had already seen the film, and I was like, "Were you in another theater, man? Like, you weren't paying attention, or And I think it has to do with they give you that huge accident, which is very flashy and crazy.
Yeah.
And then everything after that is very kind of slow. And this movie prides itself on developing its characters and the relationships between the characters. And it's, like I said, it's not really what you would call a conventional monster movie, because the monster almost makes only cameos.
Yeah, you see his arm, or you see him out of focus because the camera's focusing on someone else. Yeah, when he kills somebody or something, they'll drag somebody out of the scene, but it plays like the newest incarnation of Godzilla. You don't see him until really see him like the last 10 minutes of the movie,
when they do the big fight, iconic monster battle in the city. And people hated that.
I know. I don't know why. I thought it was just so awesome. You get to see like his tail or something, a part of him coming across from a building, or you just see his footprint, which I thought was awesome. I
just feel like people don't understand the way movies are supposed to work, or the different styles of them, and
that's why Fast and the Furious is such a.
That's why that does well.
Just because
people are easily amused by cars and explosions,
music, and
seeing like the same faces every time.
Yeah,
they never change the cast.
No,
nobody dies. No. When they die, they're not really dead. They come back in some crazy way.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, is this a government cover-up? Michelle Rodriguez is actually okay.
She got shot in the head, but she had tacoma, so she doesn't remember anything. Spoiler.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's funny.
But I'm glad that these movies are still being made, and there is an audience that can appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we can't be too mad.
One thing that I really remember about this, I think it was the year this movie came out, and it was that summer after the movie, and I was at Comic-Con. I think it was my first time ever going to Comic-Con, and so I was a noob to this, to that whole thing, and I was like, wow, like, what, this is so cool, like, there's everything I love is in here, and then I'm walking near the Nickelodeon area, and then I see the guy who does, the show Everybody Hates Chris.
Yeah.
His white best friend.
Yeah.
He was right there, and I was like, oh crap. I'm like, that's that guy from, Everybody Hates Chris, and I'm like, he does the voice for Phineas, I think, on Phineas and Ferb, and and my little brother is there, and then we were talking. I was like, oh, let's go talk to him, and then I was like, you go talk to him. I don't want to go talk to him. I'm scared. But I was like way older than this kid. And then I see the Carrie, the one who's from Super 8. The one who's obsessed with fireworks.
Yeah.
And he was there, and he was wearing a shirt that said Super 8, just a black shirt that said Super 8 on the front. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. And then I actually went up to him. I was like, hey, you're the kid in Super 8, right? And he's like, yeah. And then like his mom was right next to him and everything, because he's still a little kid. And I'm like, hey, can I take a picture with you? And he's like, oh yeah, sure, man, yeah, sure. And he's like, we just stood next to each other and took a picture. And I mean, it was pretty cool, because I think like 20 minutes before that, I had ran into the the Asian guy from Mythbusters.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, hey, can I take a picture with you? And he's like, yeah, hurry up really quick, let's go. Like, he was really aggressive, and I was like, "Whoa, this guy's an asshole!" Like, I hate MythBusters now. and then, like, I met him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, sure, come on, let's take a picture." And like, he was really excited, and I was like, "Man, fame hasn't got to him yet," you know. But I mean, that's one of the things that maybe that's one of the reasons why I really like this movie too. It's just because, you know, I had that cool experience, which is like, whoa, like, he wasn't a little asshole kid who's like 10 years old, and I'm like 17, and he's not like being a dick to me, and I can't do anything. Yeah. But I mean, it was a really cool experience, and yeah,
very awesome.
Thought I'd share.
Yeah, a rad story, dude.
Yeah.
What should we talk about now?
Oh, I got one more question.
Oh, go! Let's go. Yeah.
Do you believe in aliens?
Oh. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, that's not out of the realm of possibility at all. There's so many, just like the paranormal stuff. There's so many unanswered things.
Yeah.
That there's no way that there's not. They might not be like how we view them.
Yeah.
Through the eyes of Hollywood or whatever, you know what I mean? But there is some kind of other life forms. Mm-hmm. I'll say that.
Nice.
Yes.
Good answer.
Yeah, should we keep going with talking about the movie, or do you want to...
yeah, we can talk about the movie if you want a little bit more. I don't know.
What, any other thoughts on it?
I really like how the government just decides to kind of just destroy the whole town as a way to cover up everything. You know, they can't they can't find the alien or anything, but their first reaction is just to burn everything, evacuate the city, and then destroy it. Which is, I think that's something that would probably really happen in real life if it hasn't happened before.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's just like, oh...
Yeah, they just quarantine everything.
Yeah.
And
they blame it on, there's the fire and then their chemical plant. Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be a giant explosion or something.
This huge cover-up.
Yeah, which is insane.
Very, very insane. And then the guy who, in the beginning... The guy who is responsible for the crash because he's already communicated with the alien and he's trying to set him free. He drives his truck onto the tracks and he creates the crash, but it was so that the alien could escape. It's interesting because when the kids find him in the wreckage, he's still alive, and he says he tells them, "Don't ever tell anybody about what you saw here tonight, or you will die.
Yeah.
And your families will die." Because he knows he was like a research
for the government
scientist, and he already knows what they're all about. And I feel like they kind of sum up the how unforgiving the government and the military can be.
Yeah.
Pretty insane.
Yeah, it's scary to think about.
It is. I also loved, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I love the JJ's classic lens flare.
Oh yeah.
Style.
That was yeah. I noticed that. I mean, he did it a lot in all the Star Trek movies.
Yes, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love looking at it, and
it's something different. That's his style, you know.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I feel like it's so normalized when you watch it, you don't even realize it's there unless you're focusing on it. I really dig that.
Yeah, I was watching the first Star Trek, and they were talking about how he does it. You know, a lot of the times where he'll just have a flashlight and he'll be right next to the camera that's filming everything, and he'll put the light from the camera next to the lens, so it'll create that little flare.
Oh.
Or he'll be underneath the camera, and he'll have two flashlights, you know, a flashlight in each hand, and he'll be underneath the camera going like this, you know, flashing the lens and everything, and it creates that just that little bit of visual effect that is a flashlight. I mean, it adds that little bit
aesthetic,
to it, which makes the movie a little bit more different.
Yeah. I would. Yeah, I think